Half of your love is just not what I'm after. Part of your world is just not what I need. Some of your time is like one glass of water. We're thirsty for wine. So pull me up to the top. Oh, don't you stop till I'm overflowing. Love is the sea, and babe, I need you to keep it growing stronger every day. Oh no, you make me halfway. You take me halfway. You make me halfway. Oh, don't you stop till I'm overflowing. Love is the sea, and babe, I need you to keep it growing stronger every day. Oh no, you make me halfway. You take me halfway. You make me halfway. You take me halfway. You take me halfway. Part of your world is just not what I need. And I can see where your sweet love can lead me. And this is what I'm waiting for. So fill me up to the top. Oh, don't you stop till I'm overflowing. Love is the seed, and babe, I need you to keep it growing strong every day. Oh no, you make me halfway. You make me halfway. Give me your love. Take me halfway. You make me halfway. Take me halfway. You make me halfway.
Hello, darling. How are you? Welcome back to our show. I want to watch you sit down because I don't know what you're going to do with it. Oh, you just bring it around in front, don't you?
Very carefully.
Okay. Somebody said, you had it up in rehearsal, didn't you?
Well, I had it tucked in my coat.
Because somebody said, Crystal has cut her hair.
I heard the rumor.
Has Loretta ever said anything to you about that song?
No. Did she say something to you about it?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. What'd she say?
A long time ago. She said, I can't understand why she sings half the way.
Did I say half the way?
Well, I think...
Or did I say half the way?
I think Loretta, she may have overemphasized
I think
it
she
to make
did a
her
little
point.
bit.
Did she ever say anything to you about that?
She tells me other things. I mean, that's just the little one.
Isn't Loretta working nearby tonight?
Yes, she is.
Over at the Opry House?
Mm-hmm. And we were going to try to get together. I told her to come on over.
What does she call you?
Well, it depends where we're at. Sometimes she calls me Crystal, if we're out where I'm Crystal, or she'll call me Brenda.
Well,
you know,
you mean
when we're
do
home.
family members still call you Brenda?
Well, Yes, I do. I get a lot of friends, you know, that I grew up in school with that call me Brenda.
Excuse me, that's your real name, Brenda.
Yes.
I think most people know that Loretta named you Crystal. Because our Decca Records in those days already had Brenda Lee.
Yes.
They thought it might be too confusing. The other, I suppose, most often asked question is, why don't you sound like Loretta?
Well, you know, I don't sound like my sister because, well, I was born in Kentucky, but at 4 years old, we moved to Wabash, Indiana, so I grew up in a totally different background. I mean, my father was still a coal miner, but when we moved to Indiana, he was a factory worker. So, you know...
But you had a different environment.
I had a very different environment, and when I grew up singing folk, rock, pop, you know, all different styles. Definitely, you know, I sing country, and my roots are country, but when I started recording, I didn't think I had to stop singing everything else. I love singing, you know, gospel. I love singing the blues, any of it. You name it, I'll try.
Okay. Our research department came up with a rather interesting item on you.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know whether you've ever heard this or not, but in a newspaper article they found someplace, it said, more women who have eye jobs, plastic surgery, want to have the eyes of Crystal Gayle. You ever heard that?
Well, I have read that in the past, and I think it was when they were doing features of people, like I think they wanted, for men, I think Paul Newman's eyes were one, and, you know, it went on and doing, yes, I was very flattered.
Yeah, well, you've heard that then.
Yes.
Aren't you going to be in one of the big holiday parades tonight? I think he's going to sing a song with two of his children. So that's the show. We'll be back right after this.
Our next guest, that he is a wonderful musician as well as a wonderful person, and he's playing one of my favorite songs, Jay Patton doing Black Hat and a saxophone.
Okay. Jay Patton.
Let's see. I had some friends in a band called Peace and Quiet, and that used to be Crystal's band, and they were playing around town, and I would go sit in with them, and they just recommended me to her. And I went down there, and they said, hey, just come down here and jam with us, and I met Crystal, and I've been with her ever since.
Well,
I think so. You played good.
Is the band still called Peace and Quiet?
They're
No.
anything but peace and quiet.
Yeah. No, that's actually that was a particular band she had at the time, and they're all those people are doing studio work and other things here in town. Yeah.
Jay, it's good to see you.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'll look forward to hearing you again in a little bit.
There's more coming at you live from Music City on Nashville Now. You're watching the Nashville Network.
Shoot some slices at...
Inquisitiveness about her hair. A lot of questions about her hair. And you told me that your hair was the subject of some press recently.
Yes, this past fall, I had done a little interview for a paper out in California. And in the interview, she asked me if my hair caused headaches and neck aches, and I said, yeah, it did. And I said, you know, maybe sometime in the future I'll have to cut some off of it. And from that story, the Associated Press picked up the neck pains and cutting hair and put it all together, and then I had this rumor going around that wasn't quite true. So, but I went everywhere. I was in Washington, D.C., and I was with President and Mrs. Bush, and Mrs. Bush said, we've been reading about your hair. So it did go around.
So the rumor was that...
Because of neck pains and headaches, that I was going to be cutting my hair. Basically, is what the gist was.
You've never cut your hair as long as I've known you.
Well, I cut it all the time. I mean, from all my trimmings during a year, I cut about a foot off. It grows so much. I'm very fortunate to have very healthy hair that grows fast because, you know, I treat it pretty rough out on the road.
You ever snag it?
It gets caught in everything.
Well, you couldn't walk through a bunch of briars with that, could you?
Not real easily.
I'd like to see her in Oakley patch with that, Ralph.
Mike, is there something that you were supposed to tell me?
No. What was I supposed to tell you?
And then check your review on Nashville Now called Just an Old Love. Here's Miss Crystal Gayle.